hope everybody's been doing well. Welcome back. It's Lloyd. I'm back again with the second video on self-soothing. I remember that on the last video, I'd said that this specific video would be more about mental independence. Under mental independence, there will be the positives and the negatives. And then next part will be some of the causes I found that cause people to be stuck in repetitive patterns and habits that are usually self-destructive or bad for growth. And then the questions that I ask myself that help me find a better understanding of mental independence. To get straight to it, what is mental independence? Mental independence, from my personal experience, is the ability to make decisions without being concerned about other people's opinions or thoughts of your decision in general. This includes your family members and your close friends. They don't affect your decision. You stick by it and you go with it. Right? You go with it. So now, what are the positives of mental independence? The first one, untethered free will. Untethered free will is when you're able to make decisions without worrying about what your mother, your sister, your closest friend, or your cousin says about what you're doing. You want to book a trip to the Bahamas for 2 weeks down the line? Go ahead and book it. Book a trip for tomorrow? Go ahead and book it. It doesn't affect you what they say or think about you because you decided to do that. Because mind you, we're speaking from the perspective of someone who has something going on for them and has their stuff under control or somewhat growing towards that aspect of life. Not somebody who's just munching off of somebody and, relying on somebody to be their source of finances and all these other things. So that's the first part. Number one, untethered free will, being able to make decisions without worrying about other people's opinions of your decision. Number two, an unbreakable bubble of respect. Having mental independence creates an unbreakable bubble of respect. What that means is you are able to make decisions that are pretty much holding you to a higher level of responsibility and accountability. So if somebody asks you a question, you stick by your answer. You're not shaken by the different types of tactics people use to manipulate and switch a question up and create it as a trick question. So if somebody comes and asks me about my spirituality, as I am right now, and asks me, so you believe in a spiritual version of, of things? Why is that? Because, simple and easy for me, I believe spirituality believes in universal love that is unconditional, that doesn't create a judgment or a limitation. Simple and easy. Somebody comes and asks me, so why do you stick by that? Because I believe that as people, we should be open-minded, mindful, and accepting of other people as they are, just as much as we want to be accepted by them. So first, that begins with being able to accept yourself, which leads me to that specific point that you get a bubble of unbreakable respect from everyone, or almost everyone around you. Not everyone's going to respect you, and you don't have to, fight for that. Whether somebody wants to respect you or not is their choice. What you can do is make sure that you uphold your word. And that level of respect also comes from the fact that you uphold your boundaries and make sure that your boundaries are being respected. Then number three, you begin to accept yourself and love yourself for who you are. Loving yourself and acceptance of yourself for who you are creates a strong position whereby you embrace your flaws and your strengths. You know that no one is perfect. No one will ever be perfect. So you embrace yourself with your flaws and your strengths, which means that you know that this person has this and that, this person has that, and you have this and that. You have yourself. So you limit comparison. Comparison tends to be one of the biggest causes of depression and sadness in people because they don't embrace their own lives. They don't embrace their flaws. They question themselves because they're comparing themselves with other people's lives. And when you have mental independence, you understand and know that you have your own journey as a person to live and they have their own journey to live. You don't know them, they don't know you. So you leave it at that because that's not what you're supposed to be concerned about. And then number four, having mental independence allows you to be able to discern and scope your surroundings. When you're able to understand yourself and accept yourself, it helps you to become a better judge of character. So you can kind of almost tell the kind of person that you're about to be dealing with before they walk into your life. And then with that moment, you're able to accept and, let them stay or let them go without too much of a rustle and tussle where it's a back and forth. You're trying to debate is this person a good person or a bad person. You see them for what they are because you know yourself for what you are and your character is unshaken. So that's number 4. And then now get into the negatives of not having mental independence. Number 1, you begin to have sadness, anger, depression, resentment. Why that is because you basically live a life that's not really your life when you lack mental independence in its true essence. People make decisions for you in almost every aspect of life. I mean, it's really sad because now you get to the point whereby you are like, man, I wanted to be an astronaut, but now I am, I'm a pilot. I make a lot of money, but you wanted to be an astronaut. But because you were told that you might not be smart enough to accomplish that, you decided to not shoot for that. You shot to become a pilot, which was not fair towards you. But at the end of the day, since you lack mental independence, you let somebody else live their fear in you. So that's something that's really, really very, very dicey and very risky. So sometimes it's important. This is something I talked about with my friend. Sometimes it's important to understand that people project their specific fears and, you know, the thoughts and their feeling, the emotions that they're feeling now or they felt at the time when they had to make the same decision as you, onto you when you ask them for advice sometimes. So it's important to be careful when you ask somebody for advice for a specific situation, that you're aware that they're either going through the same type of thing you're going through or worse. So when you ask somebody for advice in a relationship, be careful, because you might be asking somebody that's in a bad relationship or that's recently been coming out of a relationship for advice in a relationship, and they will give you half the time an unconscious answer based upon their most current feeling and emotion on relationships based upon their experience, and that can really mess you up. So be careful on that. So that's the thing about that part, about number 1. You create those whole 4 pieces that are, you know, because you haven't been able to think for yourself or decide for yourself, because your peers and your family think and decide for you unconsciously. And then now getting on to the second one, you become a follower. When you become a follower, you take and accept whatever comes to you. What that means is, if you have friends that are negative, you will take whatever comes with them. And what that means is, you know, your friends are negative, you'll find yourself following them no matter what it is they do. And it will sometimes go against your character, but you will still follow simply because you want to be loved and accepted. Lacking mental independence inhibits you from being able to notice some of these things. You are unconsciously just following something that makes you feel appreciated. Boom. And that's not good. That's not good at all. Where's the camera? Right there. Yep, that's not good. I hate pointing at people, but I felt like I had to do that to point at myself. That's not good, because then you end up finding yourself in situations that you don't want to be in. And then you just end up living a life where you're following the wrong pack of wolves. You're following sheep. And you're going to lead yourself off a cliff because you're following somebody unconsciously. And then number three, you don't love and appreciate yourself as much as you should when you lack mental independence, because you don't know your actual worth. You're not accepting yourself. And if you can't accept yourself, you're not really going to be able to accept other people. Exactly. For who they truly are when they present a challenging nature towards you. Because you just want to be accepted with anything that feels comfortable and accepting. Unfortunately, that's what comes with that. Mental independence allows you to know that challenges and struggles are meant to develop and make us stronger. But unfortunately, sometimes we suffer so much that now we just want to be comfortable in whatever comes our way. And sometimes comfortability half the time comes with a lot of toxicity in it. Not all the time, but most times. And then the next part, fourth one, is something that I don't really believe is all the way true, but it exists. When you lack mental independence, you can find yourself selling your life away to something that you can never buy it back from, which means you'll be living an unconscious life and following the wrong way of life for the rest of your life, where you're not living your life, you're living in somebody else's world and not your world. So those are the factors that I learned. I believe there's still more when it comes to having mental independence and lacking of mental independence. And now coming to what I've noticed about patterns and cyclistic behaviors. So number one, childhood upbringing. Things that we're lacking in childhood kind of tend to be what we want in life in general. But somebody that grows up in an abusive home tends to grow up to believe that abuse is a normal thing, because unfortunately the human mind is something that when it grows up in a specific type of system, it somehow unusually regulates that into something that appears normal. So somebody that grows up in an abusive home tends to eventually think that abuse is a normal thing, which is not good. And then number two, traumas. Traumas are very, very severe and, very bad. Most of the time they're severe, but yeah, maybe I used the wrong word, but they're really severe most times, and sometimes they can be small. But I generally believe that traumas are severe, and that's why I'll stick to that word, saying traumas are severe. The reason why I call them severe is because just the word itself says it. Trauma means that stuff really hits you hard. Some people will say they come in different shapes and sizes. I believe a trauma is severe, in my personal opinion, and it'll take a lot to get me to believe that a trauma is not severe. So in general, traumas are another second thing that cause these cyclistic patterns and behaviors, where sometimes somebody's going through a trauma that just puts them in a coma mentally and emotionally. They don't want to get up, or they can't get up because they're unconscious and they can't really see what they're doing for the longest time, until something comes and shakes them, or someone comes and shakes them up and wakes them up. And then now you have the third part, which is transition into adulthood. If you lack the ability to learn how to cope with certain things, when you transition into adulthood, you're going to have a hard time, because you will lack mental independence. You will lack the ability to be able to think for yourself and move for yourself in a way that will help you become the person you want to become. I want to become a family man, but because I lack some of these tools growing up inside of me, I wasn't able to think in a mentally independent way, in an emotionally mature, mentally mature, and physically mature way. So I found myself in situations that were not really my type of situations, but because I was following people in a certain mannerism, I found myself delayed. And this stuff stems all the way back to childhood. So that's the thing. So those are some of the things, those three specific topics right there. They're the things that really affect people so much. So you have somebody coming from a family that lacks emotion, they'll chase something that's like that. And you have somebody that's coming from a family where they haven't seen a stable relationship, they'll be attracted to that unconsciously. It's not that they want that, but they unconsciously keep on finding themselves in those types of situations, which is really, really sad, and it's hard. So you find yourself in a position whereby you're around people that are in broken relationships and stuff like that. You find yourself involuntarily moving yourself towards that. And it's really, really tough, because it's not like it's something that you choose, but it's an autopilot thing that takes, going to therapy or self-therapy to be able to understand and search deep down inside and break yourself out of these habits, which took a lot of pain for me, honestly. Like, it's not easy. And then now, I would say, if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe and like the video and share it. And I'm going to make sure that the next video has more deeper content on this, and along with mindfulness and versus mindset. Explain that a lot more when we get to it. So what questions did I ask myself that helped me to gain a better understanding of mental independence and awareness? These questions are meant to be asked with honesty and not lies and just self ego boosting answers. Number one, am I where I want to be in life? What questions have I asked myself in the past that might re-arise again in my life? What decisions have I made in the past and in the present, consciously or unconsciously, that got me to where I am? Have I stuck by my decisions without allowing anyone to shake my decision through manipulation? And then this next question, make sure you answer it truthfully, because I've lied to myself, and I told myself my friends were positive people when they were negative people. No matter what it is, if your friend is negative, they are negative. If your family is negative, they are negative. It is what it is. You have to accept that, and you have to be able to allow them to grow out of that, or tell them that they're negative. And if they accept it, good friend. If they don't, learn to do what you have to do until they are able to apprehend that themselves. So are the people, all my friends that I keep around me, positive or negative people? Are the people I keep around me practicing healthy, emotional, spiritual, mental, social, and physical habits? And then the next one is very important also, because I realize this is something that I struggled with specifically because of my childhood issues that I didn't have resolved, and the whole unusual way that men expect to behave. I don't want to call it unusual, but it is unusual, where you're expected not to express emotion and all these other things, where I'm glad I can finally know how to express these things, and I love and embrace it now. Is my past dominating my present? Are your past relationships and your past experience in life dominating the present things that you're going through right now? Your past experience with work, your past experience relationships, are they dominating your current part in life right now? Are they? And then, are the people I keep around me moving towards the same direction as I am trying to move towards? That's very, very important. And final question, am I upholding my boundaries? If you're not upholding your boundaries, well, sad to say, the end result for that. So, if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. And thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I will make sure that the next video contains those topics that I spoke about, which is more of the causes and also the causes of toxic, repetitive patterns in life, and trying to break out of them to avoid falling back into the same types of relationships. And then also mindfulness. Thank you very much. I hope everybody has a blessed week.